should give that a second. It should tell me we are recording in a moment. There we go. The recording started. So yes, as I said, my name is Peter Brook, Lead Safeguarding Officer, British Orienteering. Fantastic to see so many on the call tonight. Really pleasing to see. I think it's testament to one of the strategic plan themes about changing perception. In that we've got so many people in clubs really interested and wanting to learn more about what's happening and helping to ensure that we continue to make the club and the sport as safe as possible. So there's for those of you that have used Zoom, this is obviously Teams as well. There's a chat function on there, so if you do have any questions you want to pop in, please pop them in there. We'll be monitoring. As I said, Howard will be looking through this evening as well. I'll try and keep an eye on it, but I've obviously got a few different notes and different things across my screen. So if there is anything that you want to clarify, do put it in there. We'll try and answer it as we go along if we can, or we might just wait towards the end, depending on obviously on what the question is that comes up. And we'll send out if there's a significant number of questions and things like that. We'll look to send out an update at the end or within a few days, just to clarify any points that we can't answer this evening. I'm never gonna confess to knowing everything, so there might be some that are just things that I need to clarify or check up in various different policies and things like that if I want just to give you the precise answer in some cases. But hopefully we can answer as much as we can this evening. So what was it that we said we're looking for? Hopefully this evening, I planned on this and certainly finishing no later than 8 o'clock. So there's a few bits that we've got lined up. So I'm going through, going to talk about a bit about the training that's available for people anyone within clubs, club welfare officers, anybody that's interested. There's various different portals, so I'll be going through that in a moment. Some further updates, things that have changed over the last 12 months. And then we've got a bit of a group session, so I'm going to be splitting people into different breakout rooms and talking about raising the awareness of safeguarding. It's been really pleasing to see how over certainly the last 12 months and a little bit before then, how we're getting so many more queries in and just asking for our opinion on various different things, whether it's a club project, there's a trip going on or something like that. We're getting lots of queries in, which shows that people have been really proactive in asking these questions, and it is really pleasing to see as we come through. And then the last section, it's available for questions. We've had some questions that were sent in on the registrations, and if there's any others that pop up as well, we should try and answer through there. I know there's one or two questions about website, which we'll address as part of the presentation anyway as well. So yeah, really good to see through there. So first of all, come on to training, and it does seem to fly by, but it's been 2 years since we had. It was well over 200 coaches took the safeguarding course when that became part of the license to coach. One of the stipulations similar to the DBS process is that safeguarding courses need to be renewed every 3 years. So we're only at 2 years at the moment, but conscious that in 12 months time from now, there'll be quite a lot of coaches that will be coming up for a refresher. Now, as part of that, we said we'd update people on what they will be able to do. So if you've had a face-to-face course, so this might not apply to some people on the call, but it'll be update for those within the club. Is that somebody joining then? So for this time next year, you'll be able to take the British Orienteering e-learning course would count as that refresher for anybody needing it. It doesn't need to be a face-to-face. After 3 years, it can be an online one. So we've got the British Orienteering one, which could take sort of 45 to no longer than an hour, certainly, that's available. And that's on the Nimble platform that we use there. So by all means, if anybody wants to do that now, it's all there and ready to go. but certainly that will be the an applicable course that people will be able to do to act as that refresher, and that's something people can do in their own time. We are going to, obviously, as with anything, we do keep looking at it, and we will have a quick look through that later on this year, just to make sure that if there's any legislation changes as well that need to be applied into there. But as it is, it's it's doing really well. We're getting really positive feedback from it, so it's a bit of let's say promotion from our point of view, but it has been a very well worked course that was developed. And Howard, who's on the course as well, he's our e-learning expert, although he probably won't like me calling him that. But he's helped, he's pulled together all the other e-learning courses that are on there. We also have, there's also a couple of other courses on there that you can see. There's available from CPSU, of, I say, for the adults, there's the Ancraft Trust one as well. So this is different external bodies with various different courses, which are quite general if you're interested in that area. I always talk about DBSs as well. I always just like to touch on it. That say anybody that's working closely with children, including overnight stays, such as training weekends, if you're looking after children going to events for a period of time, is important to get them checks done. We've seen the amount of checks coming through continues to grow. Again, really pleasing for what people see, and the process is very quick, depending on what check you need. Depending on, obviously, on your area. I know, speaking from DBSs that I process, we have Laura and myself in the office that can process these, and some are coming through in as little as 2 days. I think the longest we've had over the last 12 months has been 10. So it is a very quick process, but as well, don't leave it to the last minute as well. So other things that we do, we create, and this is something we can do with better at certainly promoting further. We have a safeguarding action plan that we look at every year. Now, this is something which I write in conjunction with CPSU. For those not familiar, that's the Child Protection Sport Unit in England. And we work together to write out a safeguarding action plan, and that outlines everything, the responsibilities that we have as a governing body to ensure safeguarding is a high agenda. And it's right through to the details of having a lead safeguarding officer in place, through to training, understanding different perceptions, so where we're going to be looking at things tonight, and just making sure that it is high on our agenda, and we continue to make sure that the sport is as safe as we can be. It's always a live thing as well, so we keep looking at that and making sure that, oops, sorry, I was moving me wrong notes then, and working through there. What do I mean on here by safeguarding perception and awareness research? One of the things that we wanted to look at, and it was something that was a question that was posed to us as well, was about how embedded is safeguarding within the governing body, within clubs, right down to how do people and those that take part in the sport understand that there are avenues to go through if they want support, whether that's something that's happened within orienteering or whether that's something outside of orienteering. So it's trying to understand that. And at the moment, we don't have that information to confidently say, everybody knows it, or and I think it's an area when I've spoke to a few people as well. If I've bitten your ear off at an event or something, it's trying to understand how we can improve our safeguarding awareness. And as part of that, we're looking at, hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll be running an adult survey. So this will be going to over 18-year-old members, and just to understand what their perception is of safeguarding. Do they appreciate the different channels and know the training that's available? And if they're interested, obviously we've got the policies in place, but we are working on them sort of questions as well to make sure that people, just to give us an understanding of what adults perceive safeguarding to be, but also to identify different training areas that we can obviously work on It might be creating extra courses or delivering more specific training sessions in different areas. One area which we've started already is the junior focus groups. So again, really crucial, really important area to understand what juniors think of the sport itself. Is it a safe sport to them? Do they know the channels that they could go to if they needed help and support? So I've already started this around a couple of clubs, and we've sat down with groups. None of the club coaches there. It's been me and a group of typically around a dozen, 13 to 17-year-olds, and we've just sat there for half an hour, 45 minutes, talking about safeguarding and what it means to them. And so far, it's certainly been really positive, and I've really enjoyed getting to catch up and actually speak to them. You can write all sorts on a computer, you can write all sorts of different policies, but unless you're actually speaking to people, you're never going to know whether what's actually happening and the support that clubs are giving is taking effect. So, for example, it's been consistent that they've all said they felt very safe in the sport, and I think that's a really good reflection of the clubs and the sports and the types of events that are being run. So they all felt very safe, and as somebody said, it does feel really safe, and obviously they've still run off into the woods and things on my own, but I still feel very confident in what's happening. And like I say, it's still very early stages of this, so we've not been able to deliberately not written up anything that we've sent to clubs or specific key actions to look at, because we want to get some more. So if you're a club with a junior section, you think you'd be able to help in this, do get in touch. We're always looking for a few more clubs so we can have a good sample of a group of juniors and talk to them about it. I say it doesn't need to be long, half an hour, 45 minutes, and it will really help to get these conversations going. So let me think. A couple of other key actions that have come up from this. We do a practice, do an exercise on poor practice. And it was really interesting to see in one of the groups recently how everyone had a different idea of what poor practice meant to them. And it was really interesting teasing all the ideas out and all the nodding heads that were, oh yeah, well I didn't think of that. And it's how it's different for everybody. And I think that was one of the real key messages. And the juniors themselves were talking about it would be really useful if something like that was, that there was somewhere where juniors could go just to see and to understand a bit more and teach them about what poor practice might be, because what's poor practice for one isn't for another, when actually if it's not for somebody else but it is still poor practice, and it could affect them without them knowing it. So it was different areas like that. So I think it's been really useful in some of the conversations so far, but we'd like some more so we can help to build up that understanding and then be able to pass that around to clubs as well. And then finally on the update point here about the database improvements. So we're looking at trying to make a few changes onto the database. So when clubs are registering activities, and whether that's a coaching activity, for example, and if you've got certain individuals that are supporting you that you're not sure if they've got a DBS, we're having a look to see whether we can put an automatic check-in system in there at the moment, because we do have quite a few people get in touch with us say, well, we're going on this weekend away, these are the staff that are assisting us, can we check that they've got a DBS? And if not, then obviously they will get in touch with them and get them to do a DBS. But if we can find an automatic way of making that quicker for you as well, then that's what we're having a look into. So there'll be a few little tweaks hopefully this year on that front. Okay, I'm conscious that I've done a bit of talking here, so we're going to move on to looking at a quick exercise now. And it's just about, I say, raising the awareness of safeguarding. So just to give you an idea, at the moment we typically get probably roughly three cases that we need to look at every year. And when I see sort of look at for investigation, means that we need to spend time having a good in-depth look at something. So whenever the process that we will, if there is a case, we will get It will come referred to myself. I will have a look into it and assess what the next steps need to be. For example, if it's junior, then we'll automatically investigate that. If it's an adult, it won't necessarily be investigated depending on the adult's wishes, but we also need to have a look at what the evidence is there and out. So some cases take a lot longer than others. Some are just queries that we get, so don't need an investigation. But so we'll typically get 3 that we need to do a very in-depth investigation into a year. To give you some context, there are some other sports on the other end of the spectrum that might have upwards of 300 cases a year that need investigating, plus all the other ones that get queries through. So we're in a fortunate spot at the moment, but how many potential cases do we not know about? Because people and people taking part in the sport don't know about the routes and the channels. So I've got some information after this this short chat that will be interesting to look at, but I won't give you too much away on that at the moment. So I'm going to set up shortly. I'm going to start setting it up now. I'm going to set up some breakout rooms. And then, as you can see on here, I've got a couple of considerations. I'm just going to give everyone 10 minutes in their group to have a chat through. And what I want to look at is how, as a club, do you currently ensure that your members are aware of safeguarding? And the second part of that question is, do they know what they need to do should they have a concern? When I've posed this question out to some people before, some people know it straight away. Some people are not sure on their avenues to go through. So yeah, as a club, what do you currently do to ensure members are aware of what they need to do if they have a concern, and how do you make people aware of that information about safeguarding? And then also within this 10 minutes, I want you to have a think about what ideas you have that could help you improve the awareness of safeguarding within your club. So I shall just set up here. Right, it's going to manually assign people, not manually, so automatically assign people. So there's it will be all very just very random as to which room you get through. But if you can just have 10 minutes to think about this, and then we'll come back in and just have some comments. And we'll go around some of the rooms just to have a think about how, as a club, you could help to raise the awareness of safeguarding. If there are any questions, I shall be here to answer them for you. It's just busy creating the rooms for you. Okay, so everyone's been assigned. Should all come through in a moment. This is where I have something spinning around saying it's opening. I've just assigned, I don't know if you can hear me, Tin and Anne, we've just sent everybody into breakout rooms. So I'm not sure if you've joined just as it's gone through to breakout rooms, or
so should I click on where it says join room 5?
Yes, that one, yes. That'd be great. Ah, Jeanette, has it not come up with a breakout room for you?
Oh, me?
Yes.
I think I lost connection briefly, and
Okay.
that's probably chucked me out.
Not a problem. Can you remember which room you were in?
No, didn't
No
see
problem.
that.
Let me see if it'll let me just. Right, it's the first time I've done this one, so it's saying to assign participant. Yes. Ah, sorry, I think your name has come up right. Adams. Ah, right, there we go. That should add you into there in a moment.
Yeah, click on that join room. Oh, it still do it anyway. Or do I just click join room?
Yeah, if you just click it, that'll take you through.
Hi, Peter. Is it possible to reassign me? I've just
Yes,
been round a bit of a vortex there.
No problem. Sorry, who is it? So I've just put you. Is it Rachel? Or...
Yes.
Right, yes, that should go through. It should be clicking up now.
Right. Wish me luck.
Yeah. Ah, hello. Has it left you out?
When I join the room,
Yes.
all I get is a black screen and I'm on mute and it doesn't give me any way of unmuting. So I can hear what's going on but can't join in.
Ah, right. I don't know what's room 9, wasn't it? You were due to be in. Oh, it's only giving me Tim as unassigned at the moment. That's
Yeah, on the side it says currently in this meeting, but they could see I was there and saying you're on mute, but all I had was a black screen, and coming out of it brought me, and going back in didn't seem to make any difference.
Right. Oh, sorry about that. It's one of the beauties of technology. There's always somebody that it just wants to play around with, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it may be now I've come out and come off mute, it will let me be back in. Anyway, I can go back in and listen if I can't talk.
Yeah. No problem. Trish, do you need me to put you back in one of the rooms? Is it?
Yes, please. It seems that they can't hear me, and all I have is a black screen, but I can hear them.
I had somebody else that had that same thing as well. Unfortunately, I'm not sure what it is, but I can put you straight back. I can put you back
Okay.
into that room.
And I'm sorry, I've been yo-yoing, kind of coming back in all the time.
That's all right, not a problem. All the technology. So I've assigned you, and you should be able to get back in a moment.
Thank you.
After scrolling at the bottom of the centre of the screen.
About that. Here we go again.
Work on a show participants. What if I can do that? And hang on a second. Can I do that? No.
Hi, Barbara. Is it connection problems?
Can you hear me now? I'm
No
not.
sound from one and no picture from
I
somebody else.
haven't.
Oh, very,
More disabling with no sound.
yeah. It's interesting that you talked about because I think it is easier to talk about safeguarding in relation to juniors because it's just an easier conversation. I think it's what more people are aware of. So, you know, that's almost you know, that is your sort of first port of call. But yeah, I think widen it so people think about it in terms of anybody vulnerable, I guess, because it could be anyone at any point in time. Is a really, I suppose it's the next step, isn't it, in terms of making that a default option rather than something people have to think about.
It's a much wider issue then for me. I mean, for our experience, do it the other way. From my experience of the club, if there are children involved, they usually come with parents. So they're kind of under what I call a natural protection, the first line of protection with their parents. It's the vulnerability of adults. So how do you identify an adult? I guess they have to self-present and say, look, I'm concerned about something. And I think the standard response would be, well, you could take that straight to the welfare officer because they are trained with the appropriate mechanisms and procedures to know what to do, one assumes.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting as well, though, as a welfare officer and an ex-social worker, the focus is usually all on children, isn't it? So
Yeah,
it feels as though you are not quite making it up as you go along, but perhaps ringing Peter for advice.
yeah.
I'm trying to think, you know, would it be learning disabilities, mental health problems?
It could be all of that, couldn't it?
Yeah, a mixture of
age.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess
It could be someone in an abusive relationship that turns up on the day and escapes, if you like.
That's true. Yes.
And the other thing that you were saying is if actually somebody came, because my understanding was that if somebody came and started talking to anybody that they felt comfortable with, that even if it was an adult, that person would almost take responsibility and have that conversation, and then it would get escalated to the welfare officer rather than someone says, oh, I've got a concern or something, you would direct it. But are you meaning if someone says, oh, I think that this what we do is wrong, and then you would direct it to the welfare officer, as opposed to someone saying, I'm really worried because I feel.
I clearly, for me, if it's a personal situation, somebody put their hand up, you try and manage it at that moment in time.
Yeah.
But I guess whether it's a male thing, I don't know. My immediate response has to be, let's be careful here. We're on very dodgy territory. And I need to sort of say, look, I know someone you should go and talk to and try and get that introduction as soon as possible. It might be different for a man, given certain circumstances. If a female comes to me, then I've got to be very careful in the way that I react.
Okay.
I think the first postal call would be if the welfare officer's about. And obviously with children, you've got to be really careful about. Yeah.
bit of feedback there, I think, just coming as we all join back. I don't know if that was just what you could hear it or whether that was just me. It says the rooms are still busy closing, so everyone is shortly coming back. Just ask if you're not on mute to just mute yourselves.
Not letting us. It's not letting us.
Not letting us.
Oh dear. Let's hopefully that's. That's that. Right, apologies for that. That should be. Right, that might have done it. Right, I think I found it. I think I found the person that it was coming through, so that's not a problem. Also, hopefully there was some good conversations there. I did catch one just towards the end there, which was really flowing well. So I was a bit hesitant to hit the close button, but no, hopefully they've gone through, gone well. Just going to start. So if I'll, because it was number one, randomly assigned, is there somebody from room one that'd be able to just give us a bit of a summary about the sort of things that they chatted through?
Peter, I have no idea what room I was in. I suspect others are the same.
No problem. Does anybody able to just give us a quick recap of what popped up in their conversation? Doesn't have to be if obviously if you're not sure which one was room one. I've just deleted the rooms, just trying to sort the volume out there.
Then, Peter, if I can say from our group, we felt there two things, one of which is in safeguarding terms, there's probably two broad themes. One of which is the traditional, I hate that word, but
know what you mean.
Coach and children going away for a weekend, safeguarding. The other is at an event, how are you handling lost children and that kind of thing, which if you have urban events, councils are often very keen to get answers for that. Their questions are often focused around you having a festival for 300 people and lost children or whatever. But from our group, Sheffield Council and the City of London have been asking, quite, I want lots of detail about how you're looking for lost children and that. So that was one point, two very separate strands, and the BOF safeguarding document, which has been very useful to me. Obviously, a lot of it is focused around coaching children when they're away. The other thing was that I think we've all probably got something on a website saying who the safeguarding officer is, and we should probably have something better saying, if you've got concerns, click here, and that will tell you about a pathway. But and that should not be going to a document, but that pathway, it would be really good if BOF could provide the words. Maybe we tweak them slightly, but otherwise I could come up with a rubbish, a bad pathway.
Yeah.
And now I will shut up because other groups, I'm sure, have something to say.
Can I just ask Peter that
yes,
when we had one of these sessions quite a while ago, I hoping I didn't imagine it, there was a suggestion that BOF were working on a template that was going to be for all the clubs to use, so that there was a consistency with the websites. And I deliberately haven't done anything to our website because I was waiting for that. And now I think I've fallen foul of your survey. But
oh no, we've to answer your question, I'm going to be presenting just that document shortly. So it is something that we've worked on and put together. It has, for various different reasons, just been put back slightly. But yes, I shall be going through that shortly. Don't worry. That's something, and then we'll pass that to all clubs within the next week.
And as a group, we did focus a bit on. It's all very well having something on your website, but because we're not like a football club that regularly meet en masse to do training, how can you ensure that your disparate membership group, who you might only see a couple of times a year at local events, that they've all read it and all know? So we were talking about maybe putting something in a newsletter, or our club uses a MailChimp, to try and raise awareness of where, encouraging people to take responsibility to read what's on the website, I suppose.
It's just that sort of scenario, isn't it? It's hence why we've done a bit of work looking at websites, as well as what's the two main contact points. And you're completely right. You don't have a fixed clubhouse base where you could put a lot of things that people can look in private. We've got events, or effectively the website, obviously some club training sessions as well. So it's that, trying to find them avenues and newsletters, various media that can be utilised. We
have got a nice notice that we put up on our notice board whenever we've got events. You know, if you've got any safeguarding concerns, come and talk to so and so. But that's as far as we've got.
Right, no, but it's something there that helps to make that, to raise that awareness, and something we discussed recently with some of the juniors was, would something like a QR code at events be useful? And that was something that they all said, oh, that could be something that actually would be useful, that they could quickly scan and would send them to information. So that's something that has come from them as well to have a look through.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Wendy, I think you had your hand up first.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to newsletters. A couple of really good ideas came out of the breakout room that I was in. One was, I mean, lots of clubs take a portable notice board along to events. So putting something on there with maybe a photograph of the club welfare officer, that could be linked in with a QR code as well. And making a sort of just a short statement really about, you know, a contact and a face. But another really good idea was to have some kind of, you know, a lot of clubs have standard templates that they use as part of compiling their final details, and just having one of those default statements around safeguarding, so that it doesn't matter who the organizer is putting together those final details, that is a kind of a fixed thing, which hopefully most members will read before coming to events.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The easier it is to be considered, so the message doesn't need to change from one event to another, but it becomes more recognisable if it's there and people know what is they're talking about. No, very good, thank you. I think, who else? So Pauline.
Yeah, just thought it might be useful for juniors to have a sort of concise guide as to what is good practice, and perhaps what they should expect from the adults coaching them or adults at events, and then perhaps what isn't acceptable, what's poor practice that they should raise concerns about, might be helpful.
No, definitely. I'm scribbling away as we go as well here. No, but I think it really, really useful, and that's the thing, especially with, again, is that the challenge between obviously juniors are very the sort of a big core focus, but adults obviously the same as well, and what's one for one is not perceived as the same for somebody else.
Yeah, I think what might be difficult is trying to get it age appropriate for the different juniors. There's a big difference between a 10-year-old and a 16-year-old. But I'm sure you're up to the challenge, Peter.
It is a challenge, yes, trying to get that the right approach there, definitely. Jane, you've put your hand up.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I haven't done this yet, but I've kind of approached our council, Active Cumbria. Some councils do safeguarding weeks, and I know in our council they do an adult safeguarding week, and then they do I think it's called children's safe. You know, they're different times in the year. So I haven't done this, but I'm quite keen to link in with that. You know, maybe write something in our bulletin. So it's a bit more of I don't mean a campaign, but it's, you know, an awareness raising activity that's tied in with other things going on in the county as well. So and just on that note, you know, just tying in, I had an email from our Active Cumbria, it's called, organisation, the council organisation, to actually go along to their safeguarding session that they were putting on for all the clubs.
Yeah.
I can't actually go because it's you know, it's just on a day when I'm working somewhere else. But I just thought I think that's another thing, it's tying in with things in your area as well.
No, absolutely. I think you made a really good point here, and as I said on the others, in scribbling away there, and I think because there are CPSU, they have a safeguarding focus on children week, and the Ancraft Trust have the adults week as well. I've not got it to hand to when they are this year, so they do alter slightly, and they do they send us some media packs that we can help, or ready-made templates that we put on social media when we put out there. But I think what the really good point that you just made here is that we could adapt them and we could put them and send clubs out ready-made templates which could be adapted and go out as well, because we do get quite a few. You might see on anti-doping week, it wasn't necessarily there was no pictures of particular runners. So I know when anti-doping week was put on, I had swimmers images going out and things, because that was the branding they send us. But I'm sure we can have a look and get something certainly for clubs as well that would help, so we can let you know, see when the dates of the weeks are. Here's a selection of posts that you could potentially use if you wish to help highlight it amongst your clubs as well. Okay, I'm just looking at the time, so I will just move on to the next couple of slides, because I'll say I want to make sure we do finish for 8 o'clock, and then if there's any more questions at the end, we can come back and have a look through here. So let me just should still be on that slide there. So as I said, we've had a look at some websites, or we've looked at various different clubs. Now, this was just to give us a benchmark and to try and understand, one, if it was actually needed. So basically what we've done is we've gone through every club website and had a look at the safeguarding information on there to understand, I say, what's already out there and different areas for improvement. So we've come up with a very quick sort of rating scale that I've got on the screen here. So I say blue, the excellent, all the information there, easy, quick to find. Club welfare officer details are easy to access, and there's some extra information in there. So there's pages engaging as well. Good. Again, everything that you'd expect to get there is there. And the essential that I was looking for when I was going through is, can I contact the club welfare officer? Can I find out something that if I've got a concern, I've come home from an event, I've got a concern, I've gone to the club's website, can I find some information to do that? So that was the main basis of it. And then obviously there's a few other tags in there as well. So then we go into sort of some of the needs improvement. With club welfare, so in details predominantly maybe hard to find or just not there. And it can take a while to search through things. And then I've got the urgent action needed. So unfortunately, there was cases where there was no information at all. There was very hard to find anyone where I could report anything to. And there was some cases where if you are trying to report something, and you might have discussed it in your groups as well, it's who's that best person to speak to. And ideally, if I was somebody looking to report a concern about a coach, for example, then I'd want to try and make that confidentially to the club welfare officer. Whereas some of the cases, some of the functions on the websites, when you put in a name or try to make a contact, it went to everybody on the committee. Now that was the presumption I made when it looked, because I didn't have an avenue to specify it to go to anybody. So that would act as a barrier to actually pushing, making a disclosure. So this was the rating criteria I had a look through. And this next slide shows us where, out of the 104 clubs, was able to look at where it all fell in. Now this comes back. Now I'm not gonna. I've got 2 clubs highlighted that are ranked as excellent, and I'll share them in a moment. But obviously, I am not going to be going through whose wasn't there. But the thing is, and as it touched on the comment earlier, we've looked at a web template, we've put the information in there, and for the vast, well, to change all this from red and the amber to good and excellent could simply be this document just being copied and pasted onto a club website, and making it accessible. So I've just I've highlighted 2 clubs that I thought, when I looked at them, they're really excellent in the things that they've put on there. So I will just stop sharing, because I do have their websites to hand. So if I would just move one across, so let me start with Divio. This is where I needed to pop up quickly for me. Just move one away. So it was really easy to find the information, and it was professionally done. And as you see, there's not masses of information, but it's the right information. So we've got a quick introduction. They talk about, there's a quick reference to the safeguarding and safety link on our website, and reporting is there very quickly. And that has to be one of the priorities. And then there's talk about other supplementary guidance on there, further resources if they wish, what people can expect from the club. Again, this is similar with the British Orienteering website as well. But it just, when you're looking through things, there's contacts, there's my contact on there as well. And then they've gone into the local councils as well. So it was really good information there. I have LEI's handy as well. Again, you look at this, they've got reporting as the top, as one of the top things in here. Code of conduct, talks about DBS, and information that's ready to hand and easy to find. And that's the 2 main things that we look at through here. Now, if I will move away from that, and then I will bring up the next one. So we've put together this template, and we'll just need to share again. This is where my screen doesn't shrink back down. There we go. And yes, Sophie, I think it's really well done to them clubs. There are other clubs that were in the good, but I think they were 2 that stuck out to me looking through. All right, let me get this sheet up for you. So this is the open that up a bit. So this is Club Web's safeguarding template that we've put together, and this simply can be copied and pasted. I put it onto a tab within. It could be an existing safeguarding page, or one that you just need to quickly put in. We'll say one of the main challenges I found was finding somebody to contact, and then there was quite a few websites where I needed to really dig and then there just wasn't anything there. So we've put here a suggested example of what an introduction could be, and then followed by the reporting a concern straight away. So how you obviously need to put in the club name and the contact details for the individual there. And then obviously there's the contact details for myself as lead safeguarding officer. We've got links here, which takes you straight to the British Orienteering safeguarding pages. Then we've got to some reporting forms if people wish to access them. The important thing about these links is they're all set to live links. So we have something on the British Orienteering database where it sets, if I change the document, that link automatically updates. So these, if there's a slight tweak in the safeguarding policies, for example, that link will still stay live. There's a couple of cases in a couple of clubs where the safeguarding documents were great that they were linked, but they were linked to old, outdated ones. So it's just updating them, whereas these links will just stay live as we go through and make additional updates. So that is the basic information here. There's some additional ones, as you saw from DVO, that they put on at the bottom. Talks about what you can expect from the club and who could be safe with us as well, and different expectations. By all means, there are extra bits that you could put on. So this is one that we've completed. We'll get this sent out to everybody shortly. If there's any more sort of any particular information that you think would be really useful to include in there as well, I will I'll keep updating it, but I'll have a look through after this evening and see if there's anything additional that needs to come from the conversations. Claire, I see you've raised your hands.
Yeah, I was just wondering how you propose getting that all up and running. I'm just aware that there's not 104 people representing the clubs here today.
Yes.
I would hope that we'd all go away and embrace the template, but probably the challenge is the clubs who probably maybe self-decide they haven't got any juniors or whatever it might be.
Yes.
And it's not going to be high up on their to-do list. So do you have a plan for how
it's going to be approaching clubs and just talking about the importance of putting it out there. It's not just for juniors as well, it's the adults side of things as well, because it's not just, I say, we've got to be embracing everybody. There are vulnerable adults and adults that face situations, many different situations that are equally as important, but we will speak to
we were saying in our group that you when we breakout room that even if you don't have a junior squad or a number of juniors in your club, you're often putting on events where you're inviting other clubs to participate, and that brings juniors along and all the challenges of that, and these are often unknown challenges to you as a club. And so the clubs do need to have the mindset that it's not about having juniors on your membership or vulnerable adults on your membership. You are putting on regional and national events, then you've got a responsibility to look at safeguarding.
Yes, absolutely. It might be something that's not related to your club that gets brought. Somebody feels more confident speaking to somebody, or it could be an ad hoc conversation that somebody in the club that's at that event goes, actually somebody said something to me here that I think we need to follow this up, and it comes through, and then it comes, and we do get conversations like that might be completely nothing to do with orienteering, but it's a duty of us to look into that and report that for the safety of whoever it is, and we can obviously follow that up. A club did that last year, I think it was, where there was a concern over an event, and they were just really like, it was just very uncomfortable, and they were concerned for this individual's safety, so they helped them out with transport and such afterwards. Got in touch with myself saying, this is what's happened at our event. We just want to make sure that this individual is safe. I contacted the individual, and the individual was really grateful for the fact that the club had shown that interest in them to make sure that they were safe, and we spoke to them and everything was really good, which was a really positive outcome. But that individual was really supportive about what actually happened. So just a couple of comments that I see just coming through. Do you feel that someone would feel more comfortable contacting a named person or anonymous contact? It could be, yeah. If somebody is, that it's one of the reasons why we've put my contact details in there, that being independent from clubs, that we contact. For those who know, yes, I'm obviously involved in another orienteering club, but if something happens within that club, they have avenues where they would contact the chief executive instead of myself, so that I would step aside as a clear conflict of interest if there was something on that case. And yes, individuals, or Jane there, could raise at regional associations. A brief pen portrait of the club welfare also might help them. Yeah, something about the individual and background, also sort of just who they are, how they enjoy orienteering, could be really useful there. Yeah, certainly. Okay, I've just a couple more minutes. I've gone over my 8 o'clock. Gone over that, but hopefully, say just on the just the wrapping up now. So, right, I've talked about the. Let me try and get your presenter view back up. So the website template, talk through. We'll get that out to everybody shortly. There's just a couple of other questions that pop through. What information should a club welfare safeguarding policy contain? You can simply adapt or adopt. So the British Orienteering one there. I would focus around the principles of safeguarding, and then link into what we've got written. These are the policies that we've got, have been linked and reviewed by the Child Protection Sport Unit, the Ancraft Trust for Adults. They've been looked at through there, so they are really they've been well worked and reviewed. Should there be both a male and a female club safeguarding officer, or is it optional? The only regulation we've got is that the clubs need to have a club welfare officer. Doesn't stipulate male or female, but it also doesn't mean that you just have to have one. If you've got a couple of officers, then great. But yeah, it's a very good suggestion. Who else in the club needs to undertake safeguarding training? And which ones range from British Orienteering video to accredited courses? We'd recommend that all club welfare officers have different training in place. It's something we're looking at to see what training we can ask people to undertake and relevant to the different roles. But would certainly recommend anybody that's got a big involvement with events and committees. The e-learning course that we've got, that's it's about 45 minutes, is a really good insight. A lot of it's simply common sense, but I would always recommend just a little that training. You don't necessarily need to do the long courses that can happen out there, but that one's 45 minutes, which you can easily do at home. And last couple here. Should the club be raising awareness of safeguarding with all members of the club through bulletins? I think we've talked about some of that in the breakout rooms and mentioned about newsletters earlier as well. And are there any differences in covering vulnerable adults? So there is how we approach the main thing is how we approach reporting and concerns and incidents when they get brought up with us. So, for example, if it's a junior that we get made aware of a concern or an incident, we have a legal duty that we will be investigating that, and we will be looking into that. Again, as sensitive and as anonymously as possible, but we certainly obviously cannot promise anything, and that's important, not to promise anything to the young individuals, but we have a duty to investigate that. With adults, it will focus on what the adult desires as well, and what they want. So we have that conversation with the adult, and each case is a case by case basis, and that's what we'll be addressing through there if we do get them concerns that's risen to us. I just noticed Howard's just put National Safeguarding Week date to be confirmed. I didn't think I'd missed it, but I thought I was going to check through. Thank you, Howard, for picking that one up. That leaves me with the end of the presentation, and it just feel like we have just sort of the last half hour after the breakout room seems to have rattled on by. Are there any questions? Anyone's got any burning questions on here? If you do, please put your hand up. Certainly, if you've got anything, I'll be sending. I'll send this information out. Obviously, the template will be coming out. So within the next week, I'll just have another review of that. And if you do have any questions, do get in touch. Like I say, if there are any clubs with a junior section that would be willing to help with the research into the junior aspect, then that will be great as well. I say I'm always looking at that to try and obviously build up that research and how we can help and develop that aspect for them. Okay, there's no more questions have popped in. Like I say, my email address is always there. I'll contact you again with the information. But thank you very much for Howard for watching things in the background for me and acting as my backup in case the power cut out this evening. But thank you very much